Alright guys, so 4.5, we're going to be talking about standard deviation. Alright, so all standard deviation is just, you're going to have a list of numbers, and standard deviation just tells us how spread out are these numbers. Are they tight together? Are they really close together? Or are they really spread out? Okay, so if you look at this thing, standard deviation, if you have a low standard deviation, that just means that the numbers are really close to the average. All right, that list you had, that list, they're really close to the average. And if you have a high standard deviation, so a big number, that just means the numbers are more spread out from the average. All right, so let's start going through this. I'm not gonna read all this mess to you guys. All right, all this stuff, you guys read all that. All right, I'm not reading it. All right, so here's our first example. Here's our list of numbers, okay? And we have to find the standard deviation. Well, in order to find the standard deviation, the first thing we need to do is we need to find the mean. And remember, mean is just an average. All right, you guys remember how to find average? You add up all the numbers and divide by however many there are. Okay, so in order to find this mean here, all right, this average, so we have 10 plus 12 plus 14 plus 16 plus 18, and we're going to divide by how many numbers are in the data set. All right, how many numbers are here? Well, there's 1 2 3 4, there's 5, so we're dividing by 5. All right, well, when you grab your calculator, add all this stuff up, you end up with 70 over 5. So the mean, or the average, is equal to 14. All right, so 70 divided by 5 gives us 14. All right, now this table is going to help us out a little bit here. All right, there's a few steps. Okay, so there's a few steps here. This was step number one. All right, you see it right there. There's step number one. Here's step number two. All right, there's step three. So these steps are going to help us out. Well, right here in this column, we're simply writing down the numbers that we're in our data set. All right, and the numbers they gave us. So 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. All right, so you're going to draw out however many numbers there are, and you'll fill those in. Now, step two, it's just telling us to figure out whatever the number was. So x is 10 minus the mean, or the average, is 14. Well, that gives us negative 4. All right, we're going to do that with each one here. All right, it doesn't matter if you end up with a negative or not, okay? Because in a second you'll see that. Oh, sorry, I'm running my mouth. So 16 minus 14, and then 18 minus 14. All right, now if you look, all these numbers here, what ends up happening? They all kind of cancel each other out. Oops, crap. They all kind of cancel each other out. Right? Oh, I forgot to write the average down here. There's our average. All right. Now, step three. All right. So now I'm over here. Step three. They want us to do x minus the mean, which was that, and we're going to square it. Well, we already have the answer. So we have negative 4 squared. And this is why I was saying it doesn't matter if you get a negative, because you're going to square it, which is always going to give you a positive answer. So negative 2 squared. All right. You guys get the idea. Oops, I forgot to put the squared. All right, now we add up all those numbers. All right, we add all these numbers together. All right, so try to highlight all these for you. You add all those together, and we end up with 40. All right, so now step five. Step five, if you look over here, you'll see step five is telling us what to do. So step five tells us divide the sum by the number of data values. All right, so what was our sum? our sum was 40, and we're going to divide it by the number in our data set. So there was 5 numbers, so we're dividing it by 5. So we end up with 8. Now step 6. Step 6 is we're going to take the square root of step 5. All right, so whatever this is, let me highlight it. All right, so I highlighted it, and I'm going to take the square root of that highlighted number. All right, so I'm highlighting it so you guys hopefully can see that they're the same number. That number just went right there. All right, and this gives us approximately 2.8. This is our standard deviation. Oh crap, if I can just learn how to spell. All right, standard deviation. But there's actually a symbol that they use. They use that symbol, so it's approximately 2.8. All right, so they use that symbol. I think it was called delta for standard deviation. Okay. All right. So if you look, standard our our standard deviation is kind of a oh my goodness highlighter. Oh my god. All right. So our standard deviation is kind of a small number. So that means that our numbers in our data set, all right, those numbers here, that they were fairly close together. All right. So let's look at these. All right. If you want to pause it and try doing it yourself, I would really recommend that. But here's the numbers. All right. So this is talking about a chef. I'll let you guys go through and read it. All right. So here's the numbers: 175 grams, 192, 160. I mean 179. If I can learn my numbers. Okay. So remember step one. All right. Remember step one. Step one is to find the average or the mean. All right. So the mean, remember you add all the numbers together. So 175 plus 192 plus 179, all of that divided by, there's 3 numbers, so we're dividing by 3. All right, bust out your calculator, and we end up with 546 divided by 3. So our mean is 182. Okay, so there's our mean, 182. And remember, X, this column here, you're just simply writing the numbers. So 175, 192, 179. Okay? Remember, step 2. So here's step 2. All right? Step 2 was take whatever our X was, subtract it from whatever our mean was. So I'm taking this number and I'm writing it there. This ends up giving me -7. All right, 192 minus 182 equals 10. All right, and again, if you look at these, they all kind of cancel each other out. Oh, damn it, I keep forgetting to write the average there. All right, it's not that big a deal to me, but I forget. All right, so now what we're going to do is the answer we just got, we're squaring it. Gives us 49. 10 squared gives us 100. And please, when you're squaring, please use the parentheses, please, so you don't screw this up. Please use parentheses because your answers are going to be positive here. All right, -3 squared equals 9. Crap, that's supposed to be a 3. All right, now step 4. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting to write these stupid step down. All right, here was step 4. So we end up with 158. All right, so step 5. Step 5. Remember, all it was take our the problem from step 4, or the number from step 4, so 158, and we're going to divide it by however many numbers we started with. This gives us approximately 52.67. Okay, and then step 6. Remember step 6. This is where we're actually finding our standard deviation. All right, So we're actually looking for our standard deviation. So remember, to do this, it's the square root of 52.67. So our standard deviation is approximately 7.26 grams. So if we were looking at this problem and they're saying, what's the standard deviation of the weights? The standard deviation of the weights is 7.26 grams, because remember, each problem here, each number, they were talking about grams. How much does stuff weigh for this pastry, whatever this guy is cooking or woman is cooking? All right. Part B. If the chef measures flour using a scale and gets exactly 185 grams of flour each time, what is the standard deviation of the weights? Well, if all of these numbers here, all right, let me use this color to highlight. If all of these numbers here are exactly the same, they're exactly the same, our standard deviation would be 0. All right. All right. They're 0 because all the numbers in the data set are the same. All right. So if all the numbers in the data set are the same, remember I said standard deviation just means how spread out are the numbers? Well, if they're all the same, it's got to be 0. All right. Is everybody okay with that? Yes. Hopefully. All right. If you don't believe me, try doing this problem here with all 185 each time. All right. And you should get 0. All right. Number 2. Here's my data set. There's my numbers. Okay. So again, hopefully you're hitting pause. You're trying this yourself. All right. And then you kind of go back and see if you got it right. So our mean, we add up all those numbers. 20 plus 21. Crap, that's 1. 24 plus 27. There's 4 numbers. All right. So I ended up with 92 over 4. So our mean equaled 23. All right, let me forget before I forget to write it down there. All right, so again, write the numbers: 20, 21, 24, 27. All right. Step 2. All right, there's step 2. Remember, there's step 3. This was step 1. All right, so hopefully this kind of helps a little bit. So 20 minus 23 gives me -3. 21 minus 23 ends up with -2. 24 minus 23, 1. Sorry, guys. I know I shouldn't be talking through this whole thing. All right, now we're squaring. Remember, parentheses. Don't screw that up. Oh, damn it. That's horrible, too. All right, 1 squared, and then 4 squared. All right, so again, all this stuff kind of cancels each other out. So we end up with a big old 0 there. Add up all of these columns, right? Add up all those numbers, and we end up with 30. I remember that was step 4. All right. So then step 5. Step 5 was to do what? All right. 30 divided by 4. So this is equal to 7.5. All right. So then step 6 is when we actually find our standard deviation. All right. We actually find our standard deviation. So it is equal to the square root of 7.5. So our standard deviation is approximately equal to, since this is the last problem, let me at least try to write it a little bit neater. 2.74. And since they're talking about students, okay. All right. So hopefully standard deviation isn't too bad with all the steps broken down. Hopefully it's, but if you have questions, please send an email to one of us.